On October 21st, IBJ unveils the 2025 Women of Influence. Join us to celebrate Indy's most inspiring leaders and hear the powerful stories behind their success. Don't miss this moment. Register now at ibj.com/influence 2025.
This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the afternoon of Friday, October 17th, 2025. I'm Alex Brown. New Orleans-based Sazerac Co is again planning to expand operations at its Northwest Ordnance distilling plant in New Albany. The company is investing more than $38 million to increase production capacity at the facility and create 25 full-time jobs by the end of 2028. One Southern Indiana, the Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development Organization for Clark and Floyd counties, said Thursday that the expansion will help Sazerac meet growing demand for its distilled spirits products. Sazerac acquired the former General Mills Pillsbury plant in 2018 to set up the Northwest Ordnance distilling operation. Since that time, the company has invested a total of nearly $170 million in multiple expansion efforts. The company currently employs more than 350 people in New Albany. Carmel-based OneCause, which offers a fundraising platform for nonprofits, has been acquired by Texas-based Bonterra. OneCause's longtime CEO, Steve Johns, declined to disclose financial terms other than to say the deal represents a very positive outcome for his company's investors and employees. The Home Builders Association of Northwest Indiana has selected Jennifer Young as its new executive officer. Young most recently served as senior marketing director for Blickman Engineering in Lafayette and also spent more than 7 years as director of business development for the American Heart Association in Northwest Indiana. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Thanks for listening to this IBJ Media podcast. You're probably going to remember this ad. Do you know why? Podcast advertising works. 85% of listeners recalled hearing an ad during a podcast, and 70% of podcast listeners have acted after hearing an ad. So whether you're looking to be heard across the entire IBJ Media Podcast Network, sponsor one of our shows, or just start with a 30-second ad, IBJ Media can help. Contact advertise at ibj.com to learn more.
Child care providers in Northeast Indiana can get free training on how to help young children with developmental and behavioral needs. Mark Mazurek has more.
The Northeast Indiana Early Childhood Coalition said providers have seen an increasing need for early intervention since the pandemic. The coalition received a $167,000 grant from a nonprofit advocacy group for people with disabilities. The professional development series will train providers on topics like managing stress, understanding meltdowns, and how children process information. In Indiana, 67% of children under 3 don't get screened for things like developmental delays, which is less than the national average. Allie Sutherland, executive director of the coalition, says the goal for the training is to give support to child care providers who are seeing many different behaviors in children since COVID-19. She said prevention and intervention in children under 5 is the most impactful method because of rapid brain development during that time. The coalition is also working with pediatric therapists to coach teachers in the classroom to help them develop early intervention skills. The next training session is November 20th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the AWS Foundation in Fort Wayne. I'm Mark Mazurek for Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Curt Cignetti's new deal shows Indiana University isn't content with being known as just a basketball school. IU announced a new 8-year contract with football coach Cignetti worth at least $92.8 million on Thursday, rewarding him for pushing the Hoosiers into national championship contention in his first 2 seasons with the school. The school said the average annual compensation for Cignetti will be approximately $11.6 million, a massive amount in a world of programs navigating financial challenges in the world of name, image, and likeness. The deal runs through November 30th, 2033. Documents submitted by AES Indiana show the utility provider plans to build a new substation on land included in the area that's been recently rezoned for a $1 billion data center project east of Monrovia. Ben Inskeep, a program director with the Citizens Action Coalition, which advocates on behalf of ratepayers, says the Morgan County project would be one of the biggest energy users in Indiana.
The only comparable facility is other data centers that are being developed right now, such as the Amazon data center up in New Carlisle and the Google data center in Fort Wayne. So we're talking about, this would be one of the largest power users in the state by a significant margin.
The developer behind the Morgan County data center has not been publicly revealed, even as county officials have approved rezoning for around 560 acres and signed a development deal with the undisclosed entity. Republic Airways President Matt Koskell is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports and entertainment, and beyond. Available now on the IBJ Media app or your favorite podcast provider. I'm Alex Brown for Inside Indiana Business Radio on Demand.
Off the Record with Indiana's 250 most influential business and community leaders is a podcast that peels back the curtain on Indiana's most respected leaders, one episode at a time. Go beyond the headlines and hear the stories of grit and innovation that shape these leaders. Do you want to know who's driving our state forward? This is a must listen. Subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcasts or at ibjpodcast.com.
The IBJ Media Podcast Network is the soundtrack of a growing state. Indiana is on the move, and you can hear it happening on the IBJ Media Podcast Network. We bring you the voices at the center of our economy, our courts, our companies, and our communities. Subscribe now and be part of the conversation that's building Indiana's future. Find all of our shows by searching IBJ Media in your podcast app or visit ibjpodcasts.com.